And Aisa.
Okay, Lee. Take care.
Thanks.
Huh. I might have this thing in my way here. What is that? It's out of the way. Hopefully you guys can't see that. Okay. Okay. Welcome, everyone. My name is Aisa. And as I mentioned before to a few of you, I am a floral designer and I'm also a flower farmer. So tonight I'm going to show you a fun seasonal arrangement with this gorgeous Long Island cheese pumpkin that I've carved out, which I'm not going to do a tutorial on carving pumpkins, but it was so simple. And I'm sure at one point in your life, you guys have carved a pumpkin. And if you haven't, or if you don't know, there's a billion YouTube videos. But yeah, so we're going to actually do an arrangement inside of this pumpkin. And it'll be cool for Halloween, for Thanksgiving, just something pretty. And then they have like those white pumpkins, which you can even do something for Christmas if you want, more greenery. But we'll keep the sort of like fall color, fall theme vibe for this, and assume that maybe we would do it for like a fall dinner or Thanksgiving. So first step, what you need to do is carve your pumpkin. Now I carved out, I just cut, hole in the top, and I used a large spoon to scoop out all of the insides. And you want to get all of your innards out, all the seeds and all the flesh of the pumpkin, so you can put inside of this pumpkin some kind of receptacle. And this vase fits pretty nicely in here, might overhang a little, which is fine, but you can really use anything. If you don't have a vase, you can use tin foil or saran wrap or something. Basically, your pumpkin probably will hold water, but when I was carving, I felt like maybe I was puncturing some things, and then there is like pumpkin flesh inside of here, which would clog your stems. They wouldn't really be able to take up water properly. So not to say that you couldn't, if you want to do something quick and you're having a dinner that night and you want to just carve out the pumpkin and fill it with water and put flowers in, you could totally do that. They'll last. They're not going to last very long though. But I suggest if you want it to last long, use a vase or a little Tupperware or something like that. Doesn't have to be this big. This is about like 5 inches across, I believe. And then I just fit it inside. So now I have this vase that I'm going to arrange in, really, even though it's inside of the pumpkin, but I'm using my vase to arrange in. It's giving me like a nice cylindrical shape, and it'll be perfect for my kind of maybe like 12-inch arrangement. Another technique, which I'm going to show you tonight, is using chicken wire as an armature, sort of like a structure to give you a little bit more support with your stems. Sometimes you don't need this if you have a lot of flowers or a lot of greenery, but it's just a fun technique, especially if you're doing kind of like crafty things like this, or if you don't have a vase and you want to do it direct inside the pumpkin. This is where it comes in really handy because you're going to have a lot of space to fill, and you're going to have to put a lot of flowers in if you want to fill up that space. So chicken wire, which can be purchased at, Agway or Lowe's, Home Depot, comes in like a large roll. Many different uses, but it's used a lot in floral design. I don't know if you're familiar with Oasis. It's like a floral foam that's used. You can purchase that at Michael's too, but it's not so great for the environment, does not break down. So this is like a sustainable alternative to that. It's giving you structure and allowing you to place your flowers exactly where you want them. And it can be reused. So you just have to be careful when you cut it. You'll need like some wire snips to cut it. Cut it. You're going to bend it a little bit. And you're going to fit it inside of your vase. You can leave some of the edges out to kind of hook onto your vase so it doesn't get kind of sucked in down into the vase. And then that is going to give you, I'll tip it up so you can kind of see, that is going to give you your structure and this sort of armature that your stems can sit in nicely. And if you figure if you don't have this and you don't have that much material to work with, think of like a glass jar with like 12 spaghetti sticks. You put the spaghetti in and what's going to happen, it's going to all fall around the side. So it's difficult when you're first learning to design that you don't have any structure. So this provides that structure for you. Okay. So any questions before I start showing you guys some of the floral options that we have in October?
Recording in progress.
I'm sorry? Did somebody say something? No?
No, it's okay. There was
okay.
Something said recording in progress.
Oh, that's what I thought. I'm like, that sounded like a robot.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Okay, so before we start the arranging part, I will show you guys some things that you can get from your own garden or neighbors' gardens that of course you want to ask them if you're taking from your neighbor's garden, but that are around right now. I know it's October and a lot of people kind of assume that flowers are, you know, waning off. There's not that much fresh stuff out there, but there still is, especially on days like today. It was totally felt like a summer day. We still have things that are blooming. There are certain things that this is like their prime season, like dahlias, which I mentioned before. And as long as the weather holds, things continue to grow. Sometimes they like this cooler weather with the sunnier, hot, sunny days, cooler temperatures. And then you have things that are almost having like their afterlife in flowers where they're starting to change color, like hydrangea, which is a very common flower that people have growing at their houses. They start to kind of get like these rusty colors, really beautiful fall color. These were, I think this was like a limelight hydrangea, but now it's like pink and brown, still some of that lime in there, but fall's a really fun time to design with because you get some really beautiful like hues just in one flower, a lot of different hues. So we have some basil, which a lot of people have herbs growing, and like these are mine. These have totally flowered. I haven't really picked much fresh basil in a while, but I have this gorgeous basil plant with these beautiful flowers. So you just have to kind of look at plants a little bit differently in you know, colder temperatures and see like, oh, maybe I'm not cooking with this as much. The basil might have like powdery mildew or something, but I can still make a beautiful arrangement with these gorgeous flowers and it smells really good. A lot of other herbs right now are still going and they maybe have gone to flower or maybe not. You can cut and use herbs like sage here. It's another thing. Most herbs are perennial, so they're going to be like more cold hardy. So they definitely are still around and you can use them for your foliage, for your arrangements. They dry really well. Also, these are grasses, which very common landscape plant to have people's houses. They're always like around foundations or all different kinds of grasses. These have this like maroon, like Merlot kind of tinge to it. I don't know if you can see that. So that's really fun for fall, and they'll open up and get more poofy inside the house. And I have some blueberry bush here. And blueberry is also another beautiful plant to use for foliage around this time, because if you can see that, it gets really beautiful, almost looks like kind of like watercolory, purples and reds and yellows in there. And then I have, if anybody lives by swampy areas, or even sometimes they grow along highways or the beaches, these are like beach phragmites. They're always fun to forage and, you know, just cut. I saw someone the other day stopped by the road and cutting these, and I said, oh, there's another person that's not just me that's crazy cutting things off the side of the highway, but there's a lot out there that's still growing that's really colorful and beautiful. And then over here I have some zinnias that are still going. They're beautiful and orange, super happy. And then we have some bittersweet, which is also fun for this time of year. A lot of people use this on like their mantle or make wreaths out of it. It's a really pretty berry, and in the warmth of your home, it'll kind of pop, and that orange there, it'll turn into like more of a yellow and orange reddish color berry. So this is really beautiful. And a lot of the time I'll leave sort of those brown and yellow leaves on things, which it would be kind of, you know, your instinct to pull all that off. But I think that just adds like really beautiful color and texture to the arrangement, which you'll be able to see. And then these gorgeous dahlias, which proudly I grew at the farm. They're so beautiful. These are like a really beautiful orangey peach color. So they'll kind of be like one of the focal points of our arrangement. And dahlias can also be grown at home, super easy. They're like a tuber, like a potato kind of thing. You plant it in the ground around Mother's Day. And this is like their season right now. They're almost coming to a close at our farm, but this is a flower that like loves the cooler temperatures. So I think I've kind of gone through everything, and we can get started with arranging. Anybody have any questions about anything? Okay, so I have a knife here. This is a florist knife, but you can use any sharp knife. You can use clippers, just something to cut with, something that's pretty sharp that will make a nice clean cut so your stems can drink up water properly. But really anything, even a scissor, if you have a nice sharp scissor. Sometimes kitchen shears are a little bit more sturdy and they work really well with flowers as well. Oh, and I forgot this beautiful, I don't know if anyone ever has heard of this or has it in their garden, but it's called beauty berry, calicarpa, and it's purple. So I threw some purple berries in here. That'll be fun. But there's just a lot of really beautiful stuff in the fall that's blooming. So usually what I do when I make an arrangement is I start with my lower layers, and I usually start with like a greenery or something that's full and sort of going to give me a base to work or in and around. Everyone arranges different, but I find that that works for me. And sometimes if you're like a beginner or you don't arrange that much, it's also helpful because it gives you that armature, especially if you're not using chicken wire or if you have like a big space. So I always recommend using like your foliage or your heavier, fuller greenery first. So I think we will start with some sage. And oh, another thing I forgot to show you was this is vervain, and it's dried. It's usually green and purple, but now it's like this pretty brown. It almost looks like it lives under the sea or something. So we'll start with these two things as our base. So I'm going to just pull apart some pieces, edit the pieces that I have to fit the height and size that I want the arrangement to be. And let me move this out of the way so you guys can get it clear. Okay. Okay, so there's our first piece. It's hard for you to tell exactly where I placed that, but it's a little bit more towards the back. This arrangement, you could do an all around arrangement, but for this purpose, I'm going to do a one-sided arrangement. So the back won't be pretty. I won't worry about the back. I want you to see everything. So this will be a one-sided arrangement, which you could put up against the wall or in the kitchen somewhere. But if you wanted to make something all around for your table, obviously you would put things on all sides. Then we'll do some of our sage. And I'm pulling off, this is something that's pretty important when you're arranging, pulling off the bottom leaves that are going to sit in water. And I do that because if you have any sort of leaf matter that's in the water, it's going to break down and cause bacteria in the water, and that will shorten the lifespan of your flowers drinking that water. So there's that reason. And then also, if anyone has like seen old flower water or smelled old flower water, it's not pretty. Like, it doesn't smell good and doesn't look pretty. So if you pull off those bottom leaves, that will take care of those problems. Okay, so just putting a few more little bits to give myself sort of a base here. Maybe I want this wild piece to sort of hang down. And maybe a taller piece in the back. And this chicken wire is really helping me kind of put things like exactly where I want them. Okay, so I have sort of a base and a shape. Hopefully you guys can see that. It looks a little funky there, not much shape to it, but I have some greenery in the front, and then the brown wild pieces are sort of framing the back. And we can always add more of that as we go too. Okay, so then maybe I want to put in some lighter colored, maybe some taller pieces, some of the basil. So I'm checking my stems, making sure I don't have anything that's going to be in that water line. I'm giving everything a nice fresh cut on an angle if possible. Kind of still putting things a little bit more towards the back because I want to give myself room for like the focal flowers in the front. And this is going to be sort of like a wild look to it, like almost like you just pulled everything right from the garden, popped it in there. That's basically what we're doing. We want it to kind of look like it came from the garden. So think about maybe how things grow in the garden, if things are grouped together. Sometimes when you design, it's nice to do things in groups of 3, especially when you start to use like your focal flowers and stuff. I'll show you how that works. Now I'm putting some of my grasses in the back. Maybe I want like a taller one. Let's find a nice tall one. Back here, that's my group of 3. I don't know if you guys can see that, but. And then maybe one that's a little shorter, one kind of cascading with that sage in the front. Ah, that's better. So you can kind of see it's starting to take shape, looking very wild. Maybe now I'm going to start to fill in a little bit with that second layer with more of the focal flowers, like my hydrangea and my dahlia. So you can sort of push things down if you want them to kind of cascade over. Maybe one over here, hiding under that little grass. And then I might come back in with the darker colors from that I had from the back here to sort of pull those back into the design. Maybe put that hanging down in the front. It's definitely tricky doing this backwards. It's like a mirror effect, but it's kind of fun. It's a little challenging, but it's working. Okay, and then I have this really pretty sort of like purpley pinky piece of foliage from the Beauty Berry from the Calicarpa, and I feel like it needs to go like right here. So I'll step away again, give you guys a little bit better. You kind of see it's taking shape. I have like a little bit of negative space here, getting a little wild. And I think now we are ready for the dahlias. So I can make this arrangement, you know, pretty contained to this area, or I can go high, really high over here. I can go out to the side. I can make it really wild. You can do whatever you want as long as your stems are long enough. You can take it as tall as you want it. You have this great armature inside, so that'll hold everything in place. You don't have to keep it, you know, contained to just a few inches above your pumpkin. You can make it my end. Oh, there it goes. I was going to say, I'm going to keep going just in case I didn't, but for some reason I froze. So now I'm going to put my dahlias in, and same thing. I cut that nice clean stem, and I'm going to definitely want to put these in the front because they're beautiful, and I want to kind of maybe layer it a little over that hydrangea. And a lot of flowers kind of grow in weird sort of ways, even if it's the same variety. Some of them will be really full and some of them will be kind of like funky. So I like to, this dahlia is nice and full, but this one is almost like a more single layer of petals. And I want to kind of use that as well so that it's not all full petally dahlias. We have a few that are a little bit more of like a daisy-like kind of dahlia. So this one I'm putting a little bit on an angle and try to get this to stay where we want it to. It just wants to go there. And then I want to put one over here now to sort of complement what I have going on over here. And this one kind of has like a nice curve to it, which sometimes can be fun. You just kind of let the flower do what it wants. And this one, sort of on the edge. And just let it kind of do its thing. And it's nice sometimes when you can actually see the stems as well. It kind of gives it that wild look that it's just growing in the garden. Okay, so I think we kind of have our focal flowers in, and now I'm going to add a few fun details like the bittersweet and some of these bright little tiny zinnia flowers that I have. Does anybody have any questions? No, just watching? Okay. So I might want to put these sort of down a little bit lower. I've kept all the focal flowers pretty high, but I might want to tuck these sort of in the center, maybe a little bit lower. Maybe one all the way down. And then one maybe over here hanging out with this beautiful dahlia. And then maybe I will go for some berries. So we have our bittersweet that grows kind of everywhere. If you start looking for it now, you'll see it like all over the place. It's just like such a wild vine, and we have it like all over Long Island. So when you take your bittersweet, you'll see there's like a bunch of little legs on this, but I can edit as much as I want to make the stem a little bit longer. Take some of the bottom branches off if I want to. And let's see, I feel like this might be pretty up here. I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter, maybe like bury it a little bit more. So you just kind of get some hints of that color. And then it would be nice to have some kind of cascading in the front. So I have sort of a longer piece that I'm just going to go around to the front to do this. Let's see. Maybe we'll put this here. Just readjusting that little guy, it doesn't want to stay there. There we go. So now we have some berries kind of cascading over the pumpkin, which is nice. Okay, and then I think maybe I just want to bring this side out a little bit more, but you guys can see it's just like super wild and really looks like everything was kind of like just plucked from the garden and like dropped into the vase, which it just, to bring the outside indoors sometimes is beautiful. So I have one of those fun Phragmites that's a little bit different of a line than like all the other things we have in here. Maybe I'll put 2 of those. Nice tall one in the back. I don't think you can see that. And then this gorgeous, that purple, we have to get that in there. So I think we have a nice spot right here for that. Sort of hiding behind this dahlia. There we go. Okay, and then maybe just accent where I feel like it needs with these really beautiful maroon grasses. So I'm just kind of popping the grasses in any place that I feel like needs a little accent or something to kind of pop out a little bit more dimension. But I feel like, I think we might, the only thing I might want to add is like another zinnia or 2 right here, but I almost feel like it might not even really need it. But yeah, so this is the basic gist of designing. It's really kind of whatever you feel, whatever your creative mind tells you to do is what's going to look good to you, and what looks good to you might not look good to someone else, but that's all that matters, is that it looks beautiful to you. So just do what speaks to you and look at your colors that you have to work with, and be inspired by your container, like this pumpkin, which you can obviously see inspired me with a lot of my colors, and just kind of see what you can grab from your surroundings, your backyard, the side of the road, or local farm stands always have like really fun seasonal flowers. So I always am an advocate for that because like I said, I grow flowers. I am a flower farmer. That's what I do. And a lot of the time, flowers that you buy in the florist are flown from other countries, and there are different regulations on pesticides and things like that that they use. So that's what brought me to my job, organic flower farming. So yeah, I always think it's a healthier choice to start with your own backyard. And as you can see, there's a lot there. And foraging, and then, you know, places that you know that your flowers are untreated, because when we're touching them and they're at our dinner table and stuff, it's just nice to know that everything's healthy and you don't have to kind of feel like you need to wash your hands after you're touching flowers. But yeah, just a side note, just to think about like where you're getting your materials from. But that is basically the gist of designing in a pumpkin, nice wild style with what we have around us in the fall. So let me know if anybody has any questions. I can just go over supplies list or anything like that if you want to do it on your own another time.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if this has gone over. How long do you think it's a pumpkin, right, that you carved out?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How long would it last?
How long would it last? I mean, I think it'll last like at least like 4 or 5 days in your house if your house is like super hot. But think about like when you carve a pumpkin and you put it outside, like it lasts, and then it starts to get a little soft and then start to like kind of cave in on itself. So especially if you have like a vase in there or something, it'll lend some support. And the cheese pumpkins are a little bit more like hardier, I'd say. But I think it would probably last, like, I'm going to guess inside of your house, like a little less than a week, maybe.
Okay.
So, and your flowers too, like your flowers, if you have fresh flowers in there, your flowers don't last forever. They will last, same thing, probably like they'll be beautiful and gorgeous for 4 or 5 days, and then they'll start to kind of wane and die off. But that's why like a lot of this dried stuff is nice. It can take on a second life. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what, I was gonna try to ask everybody to unmute, but unfortunately that feature is not working from my computer. So I will ask everybody verbally if they'd like to unmute. The other thing that I was gonna say is I'm with the library, so what we'll do is we'll send out a list of all the all the components to this nice display.
Okay.
So that if you want to do that from home, you'd be able to do that. The other thing is too, we'll post up the video of of this too, for if people want to review it later. So that's what I had to say. And if anybody else would like to jump in, they are welcome to do so.
I'm gonna jump in and ask for Aisa to show us the floral arrangement again, to lift it up a little bit because I can't see.
Oh,
it
sure.
That bottom.
Yeah, I kind of took it down from so you could actually see my
goodness.
face. I felt like you couldn't really see me.
Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, there's the flowers.
Is there a way to like have you a zoom out view of it?
Zoom out view, like
yeah,
this?
That's it.
Oh yeah,
absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry.
No, that's
it's hard to kind of like, show the actual piece in this like format, but yes, there you go. There it is. So kind of funky, wild, and asymmetrical with like lots of fun fall tones in there. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. And I hope everyone learned something and that you can do this on your own another time.
Hey, well, thanks again. That was a great presentation.
Yeah,
that's a great like bouquet too. Well, that's probably the wrong term, but
no, it's a bouquet. It's a bouquet. Yeah, it's an arrangement, but any grouping of flowers is can be considered a bouquet.
Well, it's really great. So thanks again. Hey, everybody.
You're welcome.
Thank Aisa.
Take care,
Thanks,
guys.
Right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Thank
Right.
you.
Have a good
Okay.
night.
Take care. Bye-bye.